Trade and Tourism Committee. It's Wednesday, July 16th, and we actually have a very short agenda this morning, so we got a call to actually hold item 1, so really we're just going to have 2 items today, so we'll get through them very quickly, and we'll be out of here. Okay, so we were going to hold item 1?
Yes.
Okay.
And under item 2, the Board of Harbor Commissioners submits for council approval a memorandum of agreement with Seaside Transportation Services in accordance with the Port of Los Angeles' Air Quality Mitigation Incentive Program. This is for a grant of $875,000 for retrofitting of 14 rubber tire gantry cranes with California Air Resources Board verified level 3 diesel particulate filters. And this retrofitting is to be done within 1 year, and then the company, Seaside Transportation, is to operate and maintain the cranes within port boundaries for at least the following 4 years.
Okay, so this is another grant from our China shipping settlement dollars, and we're going to put diesel particulate filters on those rubber gantry cranes. Where?
Councilpersons Mike Christensen from the Port Los Angeles.
People too. Council.
Members, really.
Council members.
Council members are people too.
Yes. Mike Christensen, Port Los Angeles Deputy Executive Director, and I've got Betsy Foley with us from our Environmental Management Division. This STS, Seaside Transportation, you might also know as the operator of the Evergreen Container Terminal.
Oh.
And these would be the big rubber-tired cranes that stack the containers on the terminals.
I know those cranes. So it'll just be at Evergreen?
Just at Evergreen.
Okay. And there's 14 of them.
There are many more than 14 cranes on the terminal.
But this
is
grant
just
will
that
do
portion.
14. How many do we have on an average terminal?
I'd be guessing to say 30 or so on an average terminal.
Okay. Is this something we're looking at in the future to retrofit more of them through China shipping?
Actually, what we're looking at, and the STS would be a good example of this, we're looking at comparing all the different technologies. Mm-hmm. Evergreen, for instance, also has, as part of the 23 projects, a flywheel technology, and they have a couple of those they're going to try.
That?
That's where energy is stored on a big flywheel. As we lift up, as we lower down, we spin it, and then we allow that energy to cycle back when they lift up. We also are processing, not as part of this action, but we're processing a request for electrified rubber-tired gantry cranes for this same terminal.
Right.
So this will be a great test bed for a number of different technologies to clean up that cargo handling equipment.
And do we know how much of the emissions will be reduced by this?
This is about an 85% nominal reduction of diesel particulate amount.
Okay, that's incredible.
That's why it reaches the level 3 CARB.
We think that it will actually be
Do you want to identify yourself? For
I'm sorry. I'm Betsy Foley. I'm the Air Quality Supervisor for the Harbor Department. And we are hoping that the 85% emission reduction that we achieve from these DPFs will actually be a more aggressive technology than the flywheel that we're proposing, and potentially more cost-effective than electrification.
Really?
But from terminal-wide across the port, we're going to look at that and see, from a cost-effectiveness standpoint, is it more efficient to put these diesel particulate filters on level 3 engines, or to do the electrification, and kind of what the infrastructure costs.
Well, I mean, obviously these are the kinds of projects that are extremely important for air quality, particularly for the men and women who are working down on the docks. We always talk about the health risks for people living in Wilmington and San Pedro, as well as like 15 miles inland, who catch the pollution from the port. But the men and women who work down on those docks on a daily basis, they're the ones I think that are really at risk. And this kind of project really makes me happy for 85%, reduction of the diesel particulates is so important. I know if you have something questions, I'll get right to you. Here's what's upsetting me. Okay. I said all those nice things first, but here's what's upsetting me. Okay, China shipping stipulation, what, 2002? Okay, 6 years ago. This agreement is part of the 07-08 funding cycle. The Board of Harbor Commissioners approved this agreement in December of 2007. And the CAO sat on this till May of this year. We've already approved like 10 types of these kinds of agreements. Why would it take 5 months for the CAO to, frankly, pardon the pun, rubber stamp the retrofitting of these rubber gantry cranes? That's really upsetting. What do you have to say for yourself?
Robert Roth with the.
Okay.
I'm not Bill Koenig with the CAO's office.
Yes.
We received this request on March 22nd, and we released our report on May 14th.
Okay, so where was
I'm sorry, I can't comment. I really don't know.
Okay. So where was it between December of 07?
The agreements were being negotiated, and the ones that we received earlier were the ones that went.
No, but this one was approved by the Harbor Commission in December.
That was a blanket approval of the telling the staff to go forward, and then the agreements were further negotiated.
That's not how we read it. We read it that this agreement was approved in December.
Actually, if you'll speak to it, that the agreements were all approved by the board at the same time, and then the ones that are coming in later are the ones that they've been negotiating. They've been having some issues with some of the grantees.
So all the agreements were approved in December of 07? That's
Yes,
not,
before they were actually drafted.
no, because we've had some that came in before then.
I believe it's correct me if I'm wrong, Betsy, but the grant applications were approved by the Board of Harbor Commissioners. Then we get into discussions on specific agreements. And some of them go quickly and some of them don't. And this one took a little while to negotiate the actual agreement with STS, all the aspects of that agreement.
So this actual one never went back to the Harbor Commission to be approved after you've negotiated it?
Betsy, do you have?
No, I believe, and I apologize for not bringing that board letter from December 20th, but that board meeting, they approved 23 projects and gave the executive director the authority then to authorize the actual agreement subsequent to that board meeting. So they approved the 23 projects, and then we went back to negotiate, work out the actual agreement, just basically to get the signatures on the agreements.
Okay. All right, so maybe the CAO is off the hook on this one. It's still to, all of us, the community, seems like this is taking a really long time. Especially when we've approved like 10 types of these agreements here in this committee. They don't seem like they're that, difficult of contracts to negotiate and approve.
May I comment?
Yes,
I believe this is very
please.
similar to another part of the Clean Air program that the Harbor is working on, where they are giving grants to various companies to replace their diesel trucks or to repower them. The Commission gave the staff instructions. We approve 10 or 15 of these contracts. You now negotiate them, determine the appropriate terms, the delivery times, the number of vehicles to be replaced. And your committee has, in fact, seen a number of those packages as they come through. But it still requires a certain amount of staff activity, even though the Commission has authorized the concept.
And I believe
So
that's
these never go back to the commission to be approved?
not after they have cleared, because and the statement is correct. As I reviewed the board letter, it was delegated to executive director by the Board of Harbor Commissioners to negotiate the agreement. So it's only until that agreement gets negotiated that it comes to you. And it's very similar to the way we do the LNG truck program. As you recall, we've come before you a number of times. The first wave that got negotiated has come. There are still a few stragglers that are not agreeing to terms and conditions, and we still have one or two of those to come to you for that reason.
Okay.
I appreciate the chair's sense of urgency because it really is an urgent matter. Betsy, give me a complete picture. The bottom line is particulate matter does create health issues, including cancer. We know that diesel was the choice of most of the ships and most of the trucks and everything else. And you're in charge of all of that air quality, right? Which is a great task, Betsy. How many, where are we numerically on how many, what percentage of this whole issue do we now have behind us, and how much more do we have to go before we have these kinds of gizmos and other types of gizmos on all of our trucks and all of our, whatever this particular thing is, retrofit 14 rubber tire gantry, the RTG cranes. Where are we overall in cleaning up our air?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Percentage, could you define
Percentage
percentage
of
all of our sources,
all of our
our
sources
ocean-going
of-
vessels, rail,
Correct.
cargo
Everything,
handling
all
equipment,
together.
all of it?
Yeah.
Boy, I would be really,
10%, 50%, 30%?
I would really be reaching to try to pull together a percentage on that.
Could we get, at the next meeting, a report back on a picture
Sure.
of all of the various aspects, stuff we've
Our
approved?
compliance,
Compliance.
and what we've
Yeah.
what we've achieved and our
In what
missions.
categories, what situations, what so on.
Sure.
And then inherent in that question is Ms. Hahn's question is, which ones are still in the pipeline that we can help expedite? And then which others do we need to actually, move forward on in some timetable? I'd like to get an appreciation of it all.
And Councilman Rosendahl, your questions are very timely. We are within weeks of finishing our next complete port-wide emissions inventory, and we'd be delighted to present that to you. I think we're just weeks away from finishing that up, and that will answer a lot of that question about where
Good,
we
and
stand.
then it will give us also, as the chair is suggesting, sort of a tracking of various ones, where they are in the pipeline, how much further they need to go, what we as electeds and policymakers can do to provide leadership and expedite it, that kind of a sense, rather than piecemealing and not really getting a full picture.
Absolutely, and Mike is correct. At our board meeting on Thursday, we're going to be presenting our 2006 emissions inventory. And I have to point out to you, since we're talking about it, our 2006 emissions inventory is unique in the fact that it's the first emissions inventory that we've also put greenhouse gas in it. So we are addressing that. We are looking at updating annually our annual update to the Clean Air Action Plan, and that should be before our board hopefully by the end of this year. We are working with our, as you know, with our Clean Air Action Plan, we have kind of high-level programs, the Vessel Speed Reduction Program, our Clean Truck Program. We're working with the rail companies to try to negotiate. So we have really big, high-level policies and procedures that we're implementing through the CAP. This program in particular is tremendous, and I'd like to offer that we could try to put together a picture or amount of reduction from this China Shipping AQMIP program too, because the Clean Air Action Plan is on a larger scale and has programs that are obviously more out into the future, whereas this China shipping settlement funds and these AQMIP projects are great because they're reaching to the little guys that otherwise might not be captured through the CAP. For example, our harbor craft. Our last solicitation of the 87 projects, we really tried to concentrate on marine vessels and harbor craft to get the little guys that might fall through the crack. And we're seeing tremendous emission reductions by being able to implement these projects.
But for instance, we're supposed to spend so much money per year. Is that how this works? Or why does this talk about the 07-08 funding cycle from China Shipping? Are we supposed to target?
The target is to spend everything we have in that pot that year, and the process is very prescribed
So you're supposed
legally.
to spend it per year.
Correct. what we do is solicit applications. We get as many as we can. We run that through the Technical Advisory Committee, which is composed of resource agencies on all the stakeholders, and a lot of those will fall off as being inappropriate or not good values or not good projects. And then we end up with what we can do, and that's where we got the 23 projects on this cycle. We're very encouraged, and we had money left over. We spent $9.1 million on this cycle. We had about $8 million left over. We wish we could have spent. That rolls into the next year. We have more funds coming in. We're very encouraged that we had 87 applications for this cycle, whereas we had a little over 30 that netted out to 23 on the last cycle.
Yeah, if I could, we've obligated about a total of $13 million. That's committed funds of the total amount. The total amount is roughly $28 million.
Right.
And we've
For air quality mitigation.
for air quality, right?
Right.
Just for the air quality. Our balance as of the 2nd of July was $13 million. We had. Like Mike said, we had 87 projects.
But basically, you're still, no matter whose fault it is, you're still off about,
time-wise.
You're still off.
Right.
Who in your shop is overseeing the timeline of this? If the board approves this in December of '07, why is it just coming to us, in July of '08? Who's on top of the timing?
that flows
You guys are off,
and
so then you have extra money that you're not spending, so then that rolls over. But if we're still off 7 months, then you're going to be off next year 7 months. So who's keeping track of these? Are, as you said, there's nothing better than this China shipping dollars and the contracts you're negotiating. It shouldn't be, I don't think, taking this long.
Right.
And if you're saying out of one hand, these are the contracts that really can deliver, emission reduction in the port complex, why aren't we really expediting these?
And that
who's on top of that?
And Councilwoman, that largely falls to me and my environmental division and our executive director, and we'll all take responsibility for that. We are working within the framework of the amended stipulated judgment, which does shackle us a little bit, but we'll look very hard at some ways we can accelerate this 87, because I would really like to see all that money spent on this.
Well,
cycle.
yeah. Well,
Part of it is-
why is it only 14 cranes? Why couldn't we have done a contract that
We're somewhat limited
handled
by what
more?
the applicants come to us with. We put out a call for projects, and we
Is that part of the
do our best.
negotiation, though? Hey, why don't you do 28 instead of 14?
We can lean
Is that
way.
part of it, though?
We can lean that way.
That is
Why
part of
would
it, and
you?
we also look at cost effectiveness and balancing cost effectiveness. So we have a process that we have to go through, as you're well aware of how processes and paperwork and politics work. Sometimes we do have to go before the PCAC for these projects and have them approve it. We also have a technical advisory committee that
I know all
reviews
this, but we've been
these.
doing
Right.
this since 2002. We know the process.
Right.
And they're always ready to get all over the CAO, and yet when the CAO gets it, they turn it around pretty quickly.
The bottom line is,
well,
we're
kind of
in a
half and
tough
half.
spot with our air. The whole world is in a crisis mode, and as quickly as we can accelerate things and move them along, the more comfort it gives to all of us that we're accelerating. That word accelerating is the key. We can't slow down, play out
Absolutely.
politics anymore. The world's threatened.
And
have
politics.
to let you know
And
we-
to say politics, I mean, you got the politics on your side on this one. You got a mayor and a council that is very much for clean air. So there's.
And we hear what you're saying, and we'll go back and see what we can do to accelerate this process, and particularly on this cycle to spend all that money.
Yeah.
That to me is the real goal, even within the process we're
I'm confused on
given.
why we can't. But you're going to have to do some catching up if you're going to get back on track, so that we're spending the money in the funding cycle.
That's right.
You've got to figure that out.
That's right.
That's
When we
what's
get
most
back
important.
with a timeline, that'll help us.
And the inventory that's coming out, once it clears our board, we'll be glad to come and present it.
These
and it'll
are,
give you a great view of where we're-
again, you say you're limited by what the applicants bring to you, but these seem to be good jobs. You're retrofitting these cranes. That seems like a contract that could be expanded triple.
And one of the good things that's come out of
And
this whole
that provides jobs, that provides, a service, that cleans up the air. I mean, I would think you'd take one of these and really expand it.
That's right. And one of the good things that has come out of this process is indicated by the 87 applications we've had versus 30 last year. So the word is getting out. This is a good program. We've got a great bunch of projects now on this cycle to work with.
Okay.
We had the full PCAC meeting last night, reviewed and got there. We have a policy with the PCAC where they want to see the projects first at the full PCAC, then the second full PCAC, then they go to approve it. So we presented those last night at the PCAC, the second round of these projects. And there was an amount requested for, we have two different categories. One is basically Harborcraft, or Category 1. There was $24 million requested. We have $8 million in that funding for that we put forward. The Category 2 is our R&D projects that were brought forward last night, and there was.
And so when can we see these projects come to us?
Well, it has to go back to the full PCAC next
I'm just
month,
asking,
and
when
then
can we see these projects to approve them?
When can they cycle?
I think you'll probably see them in October.
So once it clears the PCAC, the second time it'll come back to the
We've already
board and-
approved it through the Technical
expedite.
Advisory Committee. They've already approved
Okay.
these projects.
Well, I think you get our sentiment here. Let's
We hear you loud and clear.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no one's ever rejected these projects. No, CAOs obviously turned them around as quickly as they can. So
And we're trying to turn them around as quickly as we can too. We don't want to sit on these projects, and we want to move forward these as fast as possible.
Okay.
And
well, okay, but you're behind, so
Right.
you got to figure out some way to catch up.
catch up.
Yes, Mr. Labange.
What's Long Beach doing?
Long Beach, Councilman, is actually part of this group, part of the Technical Advisory Committee. They're
You
involved
clean
in
up,
some
they
of the-
clean up, it's all the same. It's not that if we clean up, they still got to clean up.
Well,
Everybody's
let me
cleaning
back
up.
up.
Well,
It's
this China shipping.
on China shipping. They're part of the TAB.
But the
technical-
concept of this whole thing.
The concept, under the Clean Air Action Plan Technology Advancement Program, we're together on this. And one of the things, particularly about on the R&D side of this program, things we learn get transmitted instantaneously to the Port of Long Beach, so that when something is working, they'll learn it very quickly. And of course, everybody among the maritime community talks, and the terminal operators and the applicants for these projects go on both sides. And if
Right.
you look at the amended stipulated judgment and the funding, it's a radius within the Port of Los Angeles, which includes some.
Yeah, because we approved one last time for a Long Beach.
So
Right.
there's
Good, okay,
there's
good.
spillover.
Helps the whole-
While
I
it's
want to make sure, the other thing I was going to
Big
say,
one.
USC did a study on not only just the harbor, but freeways and how in your proximity to these things, and there is a challenge to it. I don't know what the rates were in years gone past. How many ships were in the port in 1960, like on the average, and how many are in there now? Because I think there's a whole lot more activity. I'm a daily hiker in Griffith Park, and as I look out to,
See the smog.
you see the haze that sits over the bay, more prevalent now than was 30 years ago. And we have gotten better in our
But
air quality.
that should be changing,
Yeah.
particularly with our low sulfur fuel
Yeah.
project with all of our ships.
Okay, I'll turn the microphone back to our chair. Thank you, Ms.
Yes,
I do want to mention that our Clean Air Action Plan has somewhat of a similar program, our Technology Advancement Program, and it's just taking a look at all different new technologies that are out there to apply for furthering emission reductions within the San Pedro Bay ports. And that's a program that the whole Clean Air Action Plan, the Port of Long Beach and ourselves are working as a team very
Shoulder to shoulder.
closely.
Good.
Yeah.
Right, which is good. Well, we thank you for your hard work. You have anything else to thank you? But I think you get our sentiment. My apologies to the CAO for misplacing my anger. It's back to the port.
Just a question to the CAO. Just a question to the CAO.
Can take it.
Do you accept Ms. Hahn's apology there?
Absolutely.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. But I think you get our sentiment. We really want to put these contracts on as fast track as possible. We want you to do all your due diligence and negotiate them properly, but people's lives are literally depending on how quickly we can spend this money and clean up that air. So we'll approve.
So moved.
Okay.
Thank you.
Nice meeting you, too.
Thank
Look
you.
forward to your report back.
Under item 3, the Board of Airport Commissioners submits for approval a request for authorization to join the State of California's CalNet 2 contract with AT&T for telephone data and related services at Los Angeles International Airport, Van Nuys Airport, and LA Palmdale Regional Airport. CalNet 2 has a term of 5 years, beginning on January 30th, 2007, and expiring on January 29th, 2012, with 2 one-year renewal options if that are exercisable by the state. Los Angeles World Airports expects it could benefit from a rate reduction of 20 to 30% under this contract, with a minimum commitment of a term of 2 years. And the CAO has submitted a report and recommendation for approval of LAWA's request to join the state's contract.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Lance Kaneshiro with the Los Angeles World Airports Information Technology Infrastructure Division.
Okay.
Yes, this contract is for services that we currently have. It's just at a lower rate for telephone and data services for a contract up to 5 years. There's no change in the services that we currently receive. It's just a reduction in our rates that we pay to AT&T.
So you think you're getting a better deal
Correct.
in terms of you're getting lower rates?
Correct, right. Same services, just lower rates because of the negotiated power of the state's buying contract.
And so this is for what exactly?
For your telephone lines and data services,
Does AT&T provide Wi-Fi?
not under this contract, no.
I know this is not before us today, but do passengers at LAX have access to public Wi-Fi?
Mark Adams, Los Angeles World Airports. Public Wi-Fi is provided in the terminals through a concession agreement with T-Mobile.
And how does that work?
It was put out to an RFP a couple years ago. I don't know the exact, I can't recall the exact date. But a couple years ago we put out an RFP for various vendors to submit proposals for how to provide public
Right.
Wi-Fi services in the terminals, and T-Mobile was the. I'm a little unprepared on this particular subject. T-Mobile was the winning vendor. I can't recall how many other competing vendors.
And is it free?
Proposed. No, it's not. It's a concession agreement. T-Mobile collects a fee from the users at the airport, and LAWA gets a share of that as a part of the concession agreement.
Have we ever looked at, again, I know this is not, city attorney is probably going to stop me at some point, but have we ever had a feasibility study on the idea of providing free Wi-Fi to passengers at LAX?
I'm not aware of a specific feasibility study, but we have, I know that we looked at different models for providing the Wi-Fi service when the RFP was out. I just can't say with any certainty what the. I'm sure we looked at various cost models. I mean, when T-Mobile came in, they had to incur certain costs to put in the infrastructure,
Right.
and to some extent, the fee they're charging is
Right.
cost recovery for them. But then above and beyond
but this
that.
was never a discussion in this current AT&T contract.
No, not part of this, no.
Okay. I'd actually like to get. I'd like.
I'll
to
take
see
that back to our
what it would
executive
be
director and-
have free. I would think that would be something that would
what she's
really put LAX International Airport, on the cutting edge for passengers to have access to free Wi-Fi. I think that would be just like a basic
I mean,
service.
I've heard it more than a
Yeah.
dozen times in the last couple of years for us to be more friendly. And since the
Right.
Brown Act, we're in a public meeting here. If we need to put a motion in on the council to look at that, we'd be happy to do that.
I will talk to
I
our
think we can
executive
ask- can we
director
ask
about
for
that
We
and get
can
back
ask
to you.
for that. Can we ask for that today? A report back? Okay, great. We will. Anything about
Yeah,
this?
just because Mark's here, I know Gina Marie's going to Washington to look at customs agents' issues. The mayor and I met with Secretary Chardoff.
Okay, we're really off
He
subject
said
on
we
that.
would have 22 replacements plus a fresh 25. Apparently, is there an issue with the foreign travel now? Is there time factors or anything we can do?
I'm really not.
I know, that's really off.
Yeah, that's
anything to do with telephone.
As far as I know, we're working closely with CBP to get, to make sure that the resources get deployed. I don't think we're having a particularly bad summer in the arrivals hall there, Bradley. But I will tap into some resources and let you know if I hear otherwise.
Because I heard some of the business community people were going back with her on Monday, and it was basically to see where we are and how that, because we thought that this was resolved and we were in good shape this summer for tourism.
Yeah, I'll get back.
We're absolutely not, and we put up a wall, make it difficult for people to come here, and people around the world have choices now, and they choose whether to come to the United States or not. I'm a strong believer, as all of you, we must have a protective mechanism as people do move about our airports due to the tragedies of 9/11 and the others. But you have to go and put $500 down. You have to go to the capital city where the consulate is, put $500 down for an application, may or may not get approved. So people are making other choices. So we're blind in not seeing an opportunity to share the beauty of California with that. But that's another issue that we should schedule again. We did pound hard up there with Hollywood. Mark Lieberman's been a champion from LA Inc.
We did.
But more needs to be done on that particular issue. But when you make it difficult to come to your home, can I tell you a story? I got 7 brothers. One brother had a pool, the other brother didn't. And then one brother put a gate up in front of his house, and the other brother moved in the neighborhood with a pool. Guess whose house I went to? The house without the gate. And I'm just saying, we put a gate up, it makes it difficult. I don't know if you understood that, folks. And but you make it difficult to process.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. Did you have anything to comment on this contract?
Well, on the Wi-Fi situation there, we're probably, not in the greatest position because other people are more advanced. I don't know if there's Wi-Fi magazine that rates airports. I'm sure they have done that story. They rate cities. I think it would be interesting for this committee to see where we are in the sense of technology. And at the same time, too, as long as you do Wi-Fi, I think they should have foot massage at every terminal in LAX. But the law doesn't provide that, so want to work on that. There is that one? We have one here. So I want a motion. Who's with the CLA?
That in this AT&T contract? Did you even think about negotiating that in this contract?
Very good.
Okay, so nothing else. I think we've asked for general comments. Okay, I think we've asked for a report back on the feasibility of free Wi-Fi access to people coming through our airport. So with that, do I have a motion to approve this contract?
So moved.
Thank you. And then I have...
Can I ask a technical question? Item 1, I wasn't here. Do you want my vote on it?
We continued it.
You continue. And item 2, when is it scheduled for council?
I don't know the answer to that.
For the 15th.
Before the 15th, so make sure it happens before the 15th so we can act on it because they're ready to go on it. If we
Okay,
miss the 15th,
we have
wait.
we have 2 comments, 2 public comments. One, Jason Johnston and Arnold Sachs. Please
Ms.
approach the bench. Yeah, either that one's fine. Go ahead.
Good morning. My name is Jason Johnston. I'm the general manager for New South Parking / Central Parking System here in Los Angeles. And really, I'm just here to come and give a little update on a contract that you approved for us a little over a year ago related to the Los Angeles airport. We took over June 1st, 2007, and we made some promises as far as bringing back some revenue to the airport. We thought that maybe when we looked at it originally, we could bring back somewhere in the neighborhood of $2.6 million the first year. And there was an escalation as we went forward. and I'm happy to report that through the first year, we're at $3.3 million that we've recaptured for the airport. And we still have some things that we're trying to accomplish there. I don't know if anybody's flown out recently, but we eliminated the valet service that was there in the center of the airport.
Yeah, why?
It was costing the airport about $1 million a year, and
People weren't using it.
people weren't using
People
it.
People didn't know about it.
No, unfortunately. And so we're working on a plan right now with Mike Biaggi
Okay.
to try and develop a new valet program that we think would work a little bit better.
Okay.
What you have in front of you are some letters. One of the letters is from Mike Biaggi on our first. I asked him to could you write me a letter and just tell us how we've done?
Right.
That's in there. Also, we included a couple other, we won some other city contracts around SFO, San Jose, obviously not related to Los Angeles, but there's some other letters in
Okay.
there as well.
So, well,
That's-
this is again not on our agenda, so we can't really
Okay.
have interaction with you, but we appreciate this update. We'll take a look at this, and maybe we could ask for another report back at a time when we can agendize it, so we can have more of a conversation.
Absolutely.
What about foot massages and parking?
He tried to get
okay.
me to
Just
comment on that
asking.
and on the
Just-
Wi-Fi
just
thing, and I
asking.
decided
Just-
against that.
Just asking. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, Arnold.
Good morning, Arnold Sachs. A couple different items very quickly. As you asked the gentleman before you regarding the port plan for the,
That wasn't you, sorry.
I know it wasn't, I know.
Oh, maybe not.
Regarding the port plan that you had on your today's agenda, I would ask, why is it taking so long to find out what happened to the $93 million that was allocated for the
Joint container inspection?
container inspection? That's only been 4 months and I guess 8 meetings that I've asked about that. Also about the harbor redevelopment plan, you want an update on that? That hasn't come back before here either. In today's newspaper, there was a little story regarding the legislation for the $30 container fee. It states, though, in the article, which just shows you just how much the public gets informed, that half would be used for pollution reduction and half for the rail systems involving the port. And then they go on to interview somebody about stating that it would facilitate the movement of goods throughout the state. Well, if the money is kept at the port, then it won't facilitate the movement throughout the state. So it's limiting. Now, we've seen that happen before, where bills get passed and with the good intentions of things happening, and yet it's solely focused to one area. So here it's only going to stay at the port. It's not going to help transportation throughout the rest of the state, according to what it says. That's how the bill is allocated. You should write a letter. I'd also like to know about, also the Vice President for the Long Beach Chamber of Commerce opposes the bill. I don't know who he is, what he does. He's only the Chamber of Commerce. But he says that it's redundant as far as air pollution. Now, there were some traffic studies done saying that if you put out smaller cars and less polluting cars, but you put more on the road, it basically offsets the fact that you're removing larger polluting vehicles. So saying that in essence to looking at what's happening with the port. If you clean the air but you get more ships coming in with more containers, basically you're not really getting ahead of yourself. And finally, I'd like to talk a couple of things about LAX, if you don't mind. It's always you hear that it's designated as the #1 terrorist target. So why do we have so many problems getting information from the FAA? The latest incursion that occurred accordingly because the FAA failed to notify the traffic controllers that they had changed the designation for planes. So they didn't know what the plane was coming in, so they sent it somewhere they don't know. What the heck is that? And then just prior before that, there was the new procedure that was given to the controllers to communicate with the planes while they were on the ground to repeat the instructions. LAX again was the last airport. What's going on with this? If LAX is such a target, why is it always the last one to find out about all this crap that affects the rest of the public?
Thank you.
Thank you for your time, your answers, and your attention.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Anybody else in the audience wishing to address this committee? Seeing none, we will adjourn this meeting. Good job, everybody.